Well, hello. Who knew there'd be such a big crowd for Quest 2016? You're awesome. Thank you very much for coming along. So, we didn't originally call this Quest for 2016. What actually happened was put on the lanyards as Quest for 2016, and we all started panicking. We looked at it was going to be Quest Q&A, and then we started thinking, well, we're probably going to have to reveal some Quests of 2016. So you've got a little treat. Before we go on stage for RuneScape Reveals, we're going to be telling you about 3 of the 6 quests that we're going to be telling you about in RuneScape Reveals. So you get a little kind of, sneak preview, those before they happen. So I'm sure you'll be immediately on Twitter running it for everybody. That's what I'm expecting anyway. But so that all of the questions don't focus on those 3 quests, what we'd like to do is open up the first half of this session just to a Q&A. You have probably got burning quest questions. It's quite hard to say. And we would really like to kind of go around you with the microphone and answer those burning questions that you have. I don't know if I'm running into the audience or we have our beautiful Mod Kelpie. Wondrous Mod Kelpie. If there was a Kelpie cam, it would be happening right now. Okay, so first half Q&A, and then we are going to spend a few minutes each just talking about 3 quests, and then we're going to open those quests up to your questions. Because undoubtedly you'll have some, like, why the hell are you making those? Or, my God, that's awesome, which isn't a question, but I'm sure you're going to say it anyway. All right, start us off. Who's got a question about quests?
Okay, so you two are going to be dreading it now, but I picked up both of you regarding Abner.
What's that? Sorry, Abner?
Yeah.
No idea what that
never
is.
heard of it at all. Second quite often in Rune Labs. So is there any hope for Abner in...
Do you want me to have this?
You can. You know my opinion on this, which is, there's always hope for Abner because it's like Dave. Look, rite of passage.
Is that all it takes?
We could just sneak that into the release schedule and go, no, we have other important things out there. But if someone dies, rite of passage.
Rite of passage. My gosh. I think the people up on this stage right now all love the idea of rite of passage. There is a design document that Mod Raven has put together that is one of my favourite designs for a quest ever, which isn't going to help you in terms of hype and get you on the hype train, or hype plane, I guess, with Abner. Anyway, so next year, when we determined which quests we're doing for next year, and by the way, we haven't determined all of them, there may be some others, we did this survey and we sent it out to a lot of players. And the quests were on there, and rite of passage came, I think it was third out of all of the quests that were there. That's pretty high. That's pretty good. But it's also a big quest. We want to do it justice. In all likelihood, we will not do Rite of Passage in 2016. That is the horrible, horrible news I have for you right now. But out of all the quests that are not coming out in 2016, it is the one we like the most, like all of us. And I promise you, almost maybe, that we will release it in 2017. I'm so sorry. We're really passionate about it.
Have you completely given up on voice acting?
Yeah.
So we've had meetings with, I forget his name now, I think Mod Lord, about how VO might work in the future. We certainly, previously, had said no more voice acting. But now we're of the opinion that if there is a quest that completely demands it, if there is something, for example, that might end a God series or something like that, if there's something that really demands it, that has a low enough character base to do it, then we would bring it in. But we cannot promise anything. What we've basically is just kind of turned our back on saying completely no. Roundabout answer.
Is there any quest planned with an epical length like Why Gothic Sleeps?
So the question was, are there any quests with epic quest length, like While Gothic Sleeps? I think we need to remind ourselves how many developers and how long that was.
Yeah.
Go on, Mod Rowley will know, because he worked on that. While Gothic Sleeps.
Clearly I've blanked the memory. Sorry, I don't think this... Oh, yeah, it's working. That will help. Clearly I've blanked the memory, so it must have been a long time.
I believe it was something
2
like...
2 years?
Yeah. It was 1 to 2 years for one quest.
Yeah.
That's fantastic to hear. Honestly, I'd love to talk to you guys. Yeah. So a lot of people who say they love the old style of questing and feel that there's something missing with the new style of questing point to While Gothic Sleeps. I'd love to know more about what that is, whether or not it is the globe trotting, whether or not it's the difficulty, whether it's that deep lore, that sense that you're just kind of unearthing like so much information, so many characters. And it's like nothing is kind of spoon-fed to you. Everything is kind of treating you like kind of a real lorehound. It sounds like looks like from the nods of the heads, maybe the latter. One of the quests we're talking about today, I think, comes closest.
Yeah.
I would say Ollie's. Your quest.
It comes closest, yeah, but I think there's something about having 2 years to develop a quest that sort of gives it its sort of epic length and nature. But the thing is that we have discussed a little bit is maybe having like multiple teams sometimes work on a project together, which could help us develop a quest like that in a shorter time span.
I think it's a good time to mention something that we're going to almost need your help on. In the next year, we're going to start to do things called bottle quests. You've probably seen it in the news post for the Gobi quest. What we've seen is that when we release the quest, there is often this big expectation that it's going to be big, it's going to be long, it's going to have lots of assets, it's going to be huge, and of course it's going to be played once. And that is quite difficult for us because obviously there's that expectation, but that has reduced the number of quests we've produced in a year. What we really want to do is let you know when we are doing bottle quests, and these will be character-driven, personal quests, maybe even humorous. And we'll do these every so often and really let a developer go to town, give Mod Steward a quest and just say, okay, you don't have as many assets as you normally do, but just tell a story that you've been burning to tell. And we'll let you know that it's a bottle quest so that we can start kind of releasing these smaller quests, but also start kind of pushing up the bigger quests, doing things that are more epic.
Call of the Ancestors is coming out soon, and that's a really good example of this because we made raids, we built Mazcab, we had all these assets and stuff, and so we were tasked with, can you make a quest in a short time span, not using many assets, just using the ones we made for raids. And we've done that. We've produced something actually quite substantial for the time we've had.
I don't think you'll be able to tell, which is a problem, obviously, because we try to communicate.
I think we've maybe done a bit too well for a bottle quest. But yeah, it's things like that where we make an update. Maybe it's like something to do with PVM in the future, and then we've got all these new assets, and we can use them to make a quest and do it in a smaller time span.
Yeah, because I think what's hit us most about having fewer quests, we have been getting fewer and fewer quests, and we do appreciate that, is that the expectation has been sky high with each one. That's our own fault. We put out like Fate of the Gods, like Within, all these things that have been pretty big. We just want to let you know when things are going to be a little bit more kind of downscale, and they won't be any less good for it. All right, next question.
Can we have like a Fremennik Saga like quest with Second Age Scientist in? That would be really nice to see.
Yes, please.
Is this Lornab again? Yeah. Damn Lornab.
You play as Lornab.
Yeah. So do you know one of my biggest not shames? One of the things that I've been so sad about with our storyline is how few people have played the sagas. You look at the numbers, and some of the sagas, some of the best stuff we've produced, I love them. Thok quests, the Thok sagas, Vengeance, they're cracking, but not everybody plays them. I think a lot of that is because they're not on the quest list, so people are not checking them off and things like that. We need to see more numbers on the sagas before we do something like that. That's why we've also come up with the idea of God sagas, put that in the survey. That came out just above Rites of Passage, by the way, I'm sorry. But that's really quite popular. And the notion of going further back in time without the Enchanted Key, because I hate the Enchanted Key.
That's why we put it in the most recent quest.
They fought for it. I couldn't stop them. But more saga-like content, I think if we brought them onto the quest list, I think we could do well with. And Sentiston's perfectly good. I like that a lot.
It is another city to build, though.
Whatever. What's going on?
It's right, we can hear you.
Whatever happened to the sequel to Monkey Madness?
Well. So, in a weird confluence of fate, Monkey Madness isn't coming out in our game, in RuneScape 3. I think that reveals what is happening. So there's some information that's been given out later today about what is happening with Monkey Madness, but not in RuneScape 3 right now. Did we ever promise it? Did we promise it? Was that me? That sounds like me. I don't remember it. Two scimitars at once. Yeah, there we go. Two dragon scimitars. No, so there's no plans at the moment. I do apologise. But strangely enough, Monkey Madness 2 is a thing and is happening somewhere else. You can probably guess.
You've mentioned recently that you want to end Sliske's tournament, the quest line, next year. What can we expect? Will there be death, carnage? Is there going to be losses?
These little cards I've got right here have a lot of notes about that quest, which I'll be going into more detail in a minute.
You've utterly predicted us and shown how predictable we are. So yes, one of the 3 quests we're going to be revealing is Sliske's Endgame, and Ollie will be talking about that.
Have you given any thought to Elemental Workshop 5?
Wow, there's a lot of love for Elemental Workshop 5, you sadistic bunch. Twice the length of Elemental Workshop 3, should we go for that? So Mod Doctor is our new curator of Elemental Workshop. There is nobody more proactive about getting a quest out there than Mod Doctor and Elemental Workshop. He's been bugging me for so long. So one of the things I can reveal, weirdly, is that he's working on a console and interface for Elemental Workshop 3 to make it actually slightly more intuitive, but that's by the by. One of the things that I'll be talking about in RuneScape Reveals is that we really want to go for a big major update in each given month and have that big major updates theme filter into the other stuff that is coming in that month. Share assets, use it more wisely, give you more bang for your buck, basically. And one of the things that is coming out next year is Invention. One of the things that's coming out with Invention is Invention Batch 2. We'll be talking about that more. But there's been a lot of talk, a lot of talk about whether or not Elemental Workshop 5 could come in that kind of coherent theme for that month. There is an Invention Batch 2, maybe we could do another Elemental Workshop 5. They're actually comparatively quite cheap. Are they, would you say, as a quest?
No.
Super expensive.
Super expensive. Well, Gothic Sleep's expensive.
More so. Yeah. We'll never be able to make it.
So what I'm basically saying is there's no plans at the moment. You've got a really proactive curator who's chasing it, and it might actually come up based on this theme-based policy we're going for. Where's Kelpie?
Run, Jamie.
Run, Kelpie, run.
In A Hero's Welcome, the Dragonkin refer to V as a force user, but they refer to the player as a stone toucher, even though, based on the law, we've touched it more times than V ever did. Why is that?
I'm trying to think of the way to phrase it.
You're not going to say magic.
Well, a wizard did it. No, so we do have a reason. There is a reason we have chosen that wording rather than false user. We've chosen stone toucher. But I think it's something we'll go into a bit more probably later rather than give it away now, just because no spoilers, standard. But there is a reason why we've chosen that. It will make sense.
And it's not because we don't want the Dragon King killing the player.
I want the Dragon King.
Oh, yeah, you do. Yes, you do. There are World Guardian-esque reasons for all of this. We'll go into more detail in probably the Dragon King storyline, or maybe this storyline. Maybe. Right. Oh, hello. You've got a microphone already.
Yeah, I know.
Look at you.
I know. Just
you go, girl.
So, are we ever going to repair Edgeville? Is that ever going to happen?
Not only repair Edgeville, but destroy Draenor. There are the things we have to do. we have kind of a mental checklist. I'm not going to pretend that we have a written down checklist of things that we know we have to do as this kind of, the 3 pillars progress. Just this week, we've been talking about the matrix of choices, or matrices of choices. Which one would it be? Matrix of choices that the player has made throughout all of the quests, making sure we've got them all logged because, hey, Sliske's Endgame that we're going to talk about in a minute. So we've got a lot of things that we know that we need to key into. It's a lot of work. We're going to make sure that it pays off in the end.
You are a one-man hype train.
I am Peter Molyneux wrapped up in me and Mod Mark.
Unlocking of Invention, or is it just going to be, hey, here's Invention?
There'll be some tutorialization to Invention to introduce the core mechanics, but not a quest specifically. No, it's something that is very mechanical in nature.
But there'll still be a kind of a feel with all the NPCs you chat to that you are the pioneer of Invention, I guess. I remember, like, back in the day, we were talking about the Godless being tied into Invention. That's no longer happening. but that every 20 levels or so you'd have a godless quest in which you are outfitting them with the stuff you've invented, effectively making them into a band of superheroes. That soon fell by the wayside. Don't worry, that's not happening. Or as much as I'd like to see, like Garlandia as Miss Marvel and things like that. Anyway.
Yeah, I think Mortail as well touched on this in the thanks for that in the invention talk, where we don't really want to tutorialize the skill too much.
Yeah.
So rather than having a quest that leads into a skill like we've done before with things like summoning, invention would, but you know, it's a lot of opportunity for us to have storylines in the future. So for higher level, perhaps.
And invention, no doubt, will be a requirement for a future quest. We're not writing off the idea of elite skills providing requirements. We're slowly creeping up with those levels, and I think with Sliske's Endgame and what goes beyond that, because there is beyond that, there will be more, you know, we're starting to push up to 99.
Okay, so I don't know if anyone else has been watching the forums recently, but there is a thread regarding a Master Quest Point Cape. When can we expect to see this?
I heard the Ninja team talking about it earlier today in their talk. They're working on it as fast as they can, and they have a thread on the Ninja forums about it, so go post there.
Yeah, Jagex Manti is working on it in his free time. All credit to him. And then, sorry? Jagex Manti. Oh, sorry. That's his Twitter handle, everybody. Mod Manti. So keep saying it. Near future. Damn right. I need a T-shirt for that. Oh, hello.
Yeah, hello. In The Light Within, we used an enchanted key to go back in time to talk to Gothics and stuff. Can we expect more content with this, like going back to the God Wars era and, well, mess around there?
No. No. Time travel, no more. That key is horrible.
Ooh. Great Scott!
Okay, if you invent an enchanted DeLorean, maybe. Time travel's a kind of a weird thing. I don't think many of us are fans of it.
Yeah.
It has implications in kind of the lore that the more you use it, the kind of sillier it becomes. A good example being that if you can affect the past, then literally everything in the game suddenly becomes meaningless because you could have gone back and changed it. So I think we would probably want to avoid, particularly the key, because we really hate the key. But we'd want to avoid time travel where possible. But there might be moments that we would go back and glimpse.
It's weird to say. I think Light Within was the ending of the key storyline. Strangely enough.
I mean, I think witnessing history is fine. It's changing history that we have a problem with. So we have no problem with going back in time and seeing things. I mean, regardless of what form that takes.
Sagas as well. Yeah.
But changing stuff in the past, I think we're really trying to stay away from.
Yeah. I think that goes along with Amnesia and King Arthur as some of our bugbears of things that we're not fans of.
We can do a lot of cool storytelling with sagas, with flashback content, but that's stuff that we can talk about the history of the world and show it to you, but not actually allow you to change it, that and have these great ramifications that could break later content.
Yeah. Like previously, we've been a little bit worried about the breaking out the player character. You've worked really hard to get your levels, and suddenly we're dropping you out and putting you into somebody else's body. Previously, we've been a little bit worried about that, because, you know, you've worked hard for those levels. But I think we're getting a little bit more, you know, we're happier doing that. You're going to see more like when you were Vanascula in Branches of Darkmare, for example. We're not afraid to do that. I think that's fine.
Okay, this is a bit of a strange question, but is there going to be, or could there be, any scope for giving alternative ways of accomplishing quests? For example, particularly a boss fight, is the example I have in my head, where if you don't feel confident fighting or anything like that, there is an alternative way, possibly a longer way, a more puzzle-related way, maybe weakening that boss or just dealing with it in a separate fashion.
Yeah. I'm happy to cut
that. That's an interesting idea. The issue we've had so far with doing stuff like that is partially because quests you can only play them through once. So if we make there being different branches that clearly are very, very, very different, like skip the boss fight and solve it diplomatically, for example, which I think is what you're sort of suggesting, or maybe do it through stealth reasons, then what we're doing is we're locking people from one path out of the other path, and there's a sense and there's a feeling of kind of loss when we do that, that people kind of don't want that. But that might be something we can tweak particularly.
I'd actually quite like to get a temperature of the room on this one. If you had a puzzle, so let's go for a puzzle, particularly fiendish, and we allowed you to, first of all, maybe gain a hint or get pay, perhaps, to get partway through that puzzle. So we would diminish you in some way. You'd have to pay for it, whether that's through life points, through whatever it is. Would you be accepting of that? Throw up your arms if you would be okay with that. Okay, and now throw up your arms if you were actually very much against the idea of people skipping any content in quests. Yeah. So this is what we have to deal with. It's very difficult. I think there are certain things, I think there are certain ways that we can do it. Weirdly enough, the quest help system, rest in peace, actually had a relatively kind of elegant system for that, which is that you can pay for a hint. You can just get a little hint. It's not taking you any further through it. Might give you a way of understanding what the puzzle is asking of you without solving it for you. And maybe we could do more of that. So you don't feel like you're cheating by going to a walkthrough. I think there's lots of things we want to talk about. Basically, it's on our plates at the moment. We really want to discuss this. Because obviously, you know, there are some people who just can't get through combat encounters.
Do you ever think that one day we'll get quests that are like kind of elite tier, where we're getting to the point now where there's a lot of max players, and a lot of quests require like around the level 80 mark. Do you ever think we'll reach like level 90, maybe 95 requirements, or possibly boss kills? For example, like you need to have killed a Raxi in order to progress in the quest.
So mean.
Yeah, well,
mean.
It's the game
people
nowadays.
who've had to do it for Comp Cape, you swine. Previously, we've always tried to nudge up skill levels. Like we've been custodians of you in some way, that we've been trying to gently push you up to the higher levels. I don't think we're like that anymore. I think that you're going to find that we're going to be more adventurous with our quest requirements. Well, things like Lord of Vampirium, we wanted it to be best in slot for like, was it 3 skills?
I think it was 2 in the end. It was construction and hunter.
Yeah. So we're always nudging it up. But when it comes to Sliske's Endgame and what happens beyond Sliske's Endgame, I think that's more when we start getting into the realms of we really want to underline the importance of this. And one great way of doing that, weirdly enough, is by moving into the elite area. I think you'll start seeing greater jumps in skill requirements, yeah.
What are your plans for the Penguin and Pirates quest lines?
So, I have a few plans that I've written down in my notebook of evil for the Penguin storyline. Certainly we want to, I mean, there was people talking about ending the Penguin storyline, and I think that's madness. I think the Penguin storyline needs to be infinite. And I think one of the joys of the Penguin storyline is to kind of take the silliness and parody something, which is what Penguins do well. But one of the things that I want to do next time, or at least soon-ish, or at least in the terms of the Penguin storyline, is to get the Penguins to Acheron, which is the Penguin world, those of you who don't know, the Penguin Islands, to show kind of what the Penguins really go through, because it's easy to see the Penguins as kind of, evil, maniacal, insane little things, and they are, don't get me wrong, they are evil, insane, maniacal things, but there's a history behind them, there's a story behind them as well that Mod Nancy wrote that's quite dark, and I'd like to tell more of that whilst maintaining the quite silliness. So Acheron, more comedy and never-ending penguin madness is largely what I would suggest the Penguin series.
Mod Tony is Mod Tony, who has done Let Them Eat Pie and other quests. Oh yeah, sorry, Mod Wilson. That might reveal his full name. I do apologise. But he's produced some horrific quests in the sense of their bodily fluids, etc. Let Them Eat Pie being the most obvious one. He's got real big plans for the pirates, and he wants to do it as soon as possible. He's got plans for a pirate god, which will be quite interesting. So bringing, bringing some elements of that in. You might have seeded some things in some content he's written, so have a look out for that. Okay, so I do apologise. I know, particularly over here, you had a number of questions. I'm sorry it was very left-oriented, or my left-oriented. What we're going to do is we're going to start moving into the quests. And to understand the 3 quests that we're going to talk about, it's important you understand what we're trying to do next year. And this is Sliske's Countdown. We haven't really taken advantage of the fact that we have a quest schedule that we could release a quest every month. We could build some momentum in certain storylines. We kind of did it with the Void trilogy. You know, we did it with the Summer Quest. We can tell stories that can kind of feed off each other, and be told in a short period of time. Sliske's Countdown is what we want to do next year. We are going to bring an end to the storyline of Stone of Jazz and Sliske's game. It's important to note it's those and not the gods. The gods are still a thing. And to start us off, start with Mod Ollie.
Yeah, you'll have to excuse me a little bit, because as Dave mentioned at the start, we were slightly unprepared to be talking about these things. So I've got my notes. So the first thing we wanted to say about Sliske's Endgame is that it's obviously going to be a Grandmaster quest. And it's going to have tons of requirements, such as things like Hero's Welcome, One of a Kind, Dishonor Among Thieves, and all the ones we're going to mention after this here today. And so it's going to be the culmination of all those storylines. Some of those you might think are slightly unrelated, but they really are all going to be tied together by that end quest. And it's the storyline that began with, it was kicked off in The World Wakes and continued in Missing Presumed Death. It was really the start of the 6th Age. So yeah, it's going to be the culmination of that sort of storyline. So it's the big event that Sliske has been building towards. There's been loads of things he's done. There's been world events. There's been quests. And basically, everyone who's obtained a god kill is going to be invited to this end event. And basically, that's sort of up to Sliske who can come. Some people, you know, they'll have pretty obvious god kills. Armadil, for instance, obviously killed Bandos. You've all witnessed it. Other people, it might be sort of up to Sliske's judgment. So who else will be present? We've already mentioned Armadil. Obviously, the player is going to be present. You've got Virago as well, who recently killed Tusker. And those two, Armadil and Tusker, they're the result of everyone's choices, like a democratic choice, the world events we started introducing. That's you guys as a whole choosing that. But there's also going to be a lot of other people who are going to turn up, who are going to be different for each of you. So the choices you've made personally in your own quests, that's going to affect who's going to be there. So you've got the choices that everyone's made and your own choices affecting it. Let me switch my cards. So, yeah, all those choices you made, there's not just like which gods have got kills and things like that, but there's other big choices that have been made throughout quests, and they're all going to have an effect on this final quest. And now we kind of wanted to get a little feeling from you guys about who here would want to make a change to the choices they've made so far? So put your hand up if you've made a choice that you would want to change. So yeah, we got quite a few people in here. So obviously we feel like it devalues a choice a bit if we allow you to just go back and change it whenever you want, stuff like that. But we're going to be trying out a new format with this quest, which is actually a deleted scenes format. So you'll play your first playthrough, it'll have your choices affect it, and that'll be your canon for your character. Then you'll be able to go back and replay the quest, and you'll be able to select from, we're not quite sure how we'll do it, but you'll be able to select the choices that you want to affect the quest. So you'll get to do a playthrough and see what other choices could have, how they could have affected the quest. So yeah, that's quite a new thing that we're going to be trying out. And then another big thing about this quest is you're finally going to get your confrontation with Sliske. You all want to fight him, or some of you might like him, but you want to have that end confrontation with him and finally get to actually stop him wriggling out of your fingers. So that's going to happen. And it's really going to be the conclusion to the Stone of Jazz storyline. So what else is going to happen in this quest? Well, Seren's new role is going to become apparent by the end of it. What her aim is after returning, and how she'll be a part of the rest of the 6th Age. Also, Zaros' master plan is going to emerge. Everyone's wondering what that is. Well, yeah, everyone loves Zaros. So, yeah, what are all the pieces he's been putting in place? What is his ultimate goal? We're going to find that stuff out. And, yeah, ultimately, it's going to signify the end of the current biggest threat to Gielinor, which is the Stone of Jazz. It's like Gielinor's one ring. And, yeah, it's going to bring about the start of a new threat. So, yeah, it's going to be a pretty awesome quest, and as David put it, I think it's going to be bombastic.
Bombastic, the word I always use. So yeah, though it's going to be, as I said previously, there's going to be 4 quests, and that's the 4th of them. We're not going to backtrack a little bit, rather confusingly, to go to the 2nd. Yes. Yes, this is the second. And this is one you actually have heard nothing about.
Okay. I don't have any useful cards like Ollie did, so bear with me. We're going on from my brain, so it might be hectic. So the second quest, well, the quest that we're going to talk about now is what we're currently preliminary naming as the Ballad of the Barrows brothers. So this is going to be an experience level quest, and the idea behind this quest is so that we can learn more about Sliske. Not just in terms of, you know, he's this cackling, maniacal villain that stands with all the artifacts and goes, yes, I will do evil now. We want to learn more about him. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to do this by learning about the closest thing he has really to friends, which would be the Barrows brothers. So what we want from this is it's going to be a much more character-driven story. We're going to learn who the Barrows brothers were. We're going to learn about their lives, their personalities, these kind of things. We're going to learn how they became the Barrows brothers, more than from just the stories we've heard, but actually sort of learn more about it and witness it. Maybe not witness it, but we'll see. And we're going to learn how they are important to Sliske and how Sliske is important to them. And another thing we are going to reveal is we're going to reveal the Barrows sister. Yes. The sister. Yeah. So we're going to learn who she is, we're going to learn why she's important, and most importantly, we're going to learn why she's important to Sliske, which brings us to the reason behind the quest, which is, what is Sliske's motivation? I mean, his real motivation. It can't really just be to stand there and go, a lot, can it? Because that's my motivation. But I am not Sliske. There's a reason behind what he's doing, and it's maybe not the reason you think. And we're going to learn just kind of why he has this kind of thing for the player. I mean, he really does have a bit of a thing for the player, and we're going to learn why. It's going to become more apparent. And finally, we're just going to learn the sort of real motivations of Sliske and kind of where the strings are all turning up from this. It's going to be good.
There's going to be a bit of Shadow Realm affecting
the Shadow Realm, of course. I forgot that bit, and that's an important bit. This is why I needed notes, yes. So someone mentioned to me earlier, will we be able to go and like visit the Shadow Realm, see the Shadow Realm properly? And this is something we kind of want to explore with this quest as well, which is to explore the Shadow Realm and through the choices, and there will be many choices, because we like choices everywhere. Possibly the ability to affect the Shadow Realm, kind of put your imprint on it and change it forever. Forever. Oh yeah, forever. That's going to be good.
Okay.
One-word summary for that quest.
Choices? Sliske?
I think choices is probably the word we've said most in this. Let's do it. Okay, so you've probably noticed that there's a lot of 6th Age stuff going on here. We don't want that to be the case throughout. There is a counterpoint. We're obviously very excited about this 6th Age momentum, what we're doing with Sliske, but there is other stuff. And to tell us about one particular quest is Mod Rowley.
Yeah, so 5th Age. Oh, I did yeah, so too then.
It's contagious.
It's not good. Has anyone played the recent Myarchy quest? Yeah? Anyone interested in a sequel? All right, so I guess we should do that. And we're not just doing it, I think, because there's been quite a good response. It's understated, I think. It was quite well received.
You're allowed to blow your own trumpet.
It was awesome. And I have to thank you all for that as well. All the players, not you. I'm sorry. So what am I doing now? What am I talking about?
You need the notes as well.
Yeah,
so, quest title. Do we have a title? Do you want to reveal it?
No, not really. I mean, it's a working title. We do this a lot, and I've got it in my head at the moment as River of Blood. So a nice, charming name there. You can kind of guess what's going to happen. It might be Rivers of Blood. I don't know. There could be a lot of death. Who knows? So what we want to do here is, obviously, it's going to be a finale, and most likely a Grandmaster. We've got some promises that we didn't quite deliver on with the recent Vampire quest, such as being able to actually go through Castle Trakan. I was a bit of a fake out, a bit cheap there, so I'm sorry about that. But we have the environment now, and we're going to find some actual content to put in there. And we also want to explore, obviously, the outcome with Vanascula's sudden but inevitable betrayal. And Ivan, of course, as well. And what happens to the remnants of the Myarchy. Another big thing for the series, I kind of want to go back to more of a feel of Myarchy 1 through 4, because Vampirium was very much in the vein of Branches of Darkmire. So maybe a bit more of a sprawling feel, some more of what Mod Titan would have done back in the day, which feels right for a finale, I think, to come full circle.
I think it makes sense sprawling because obviously Vrock is interested now.
It wasn't before.
It was, well, no, not really.
Right.
King Rold needed some kind of persuading.
Yeah, and he's definitely on board now. So we've got Paterdomus, 2 sides, 2 factions, and who knows what's going to happen there. I suppose I should think of something. But we have notes, we have plans from Titan, from Anna, and now from the Guardians team as well. It's going to be a full team effort. No?
And we'll be building on the momentum we built from the first quest. We're aiming to try and get this out fairly soon, relatively speaking, try to build upon what we've done with Lord of Vampirium before the assets start getting outdated.
Yeah, we could leave it 5 years and then have to rework all of the NPCs again, but we're not going to do that. And it wasn't just that. It's not just that momentum in terms of asset production. It's something we really are excited about doing as a team. But also, correct me if I'm wrong, but from your surveys, it came second?
Yeah, sorry, wait a minute. I've got to work this out now. It was very, very high. There was only one quest, I think, that beat it. And I'm trying to mentally rework everything from the survey.
And this was just after the poll, effectively. Yeah. So you knew we were working on a quest, but I guess it's a lot of faith in us that you hoped it was going to be good.
Okay, so we've hit you, a wee salvo of the quests coming out in 2016. As I just want to reiterate, these are just 3 of the quests. There will be more. We're aiming to produce more next year. They won't all be God quests. There'll be continuation quests, humorous quests, personal quests as well, as I talked about Bottle. So now I'm going to get up the lovely Mod Kelpie again. Has anybody got questions on these 3 quests? Is there anything burning away?
Will we be able to actually really support Sliske in the Ascension? Like, actually try and make sure he succeeds? Or is it going to be that we're going to be forced to have a conflict?
Well, I love Sliske, so I would love to be able to support him. And
you're such a Relomia.
Yeah.
You're a fangirl.
I am, I'm a fangirl. I'm floating on that rock outside the Empyrean Citadel, like cheering Sliske on. Yeah, so like we want to support whatever choices you guys want to make, and we're well aware that yes, Sliske does have some fans, some twisted fans, so I'm sure you will be able to support him.
Let's go for it. Let's do it.
Yep.
With the Oculus Rift, could we ever see any first-person style quests?
Wow, what a question! It makes me want to promise something now. A new While Gothic Sleep style quest, purely for Oculus Rift.
Yes, we'll definitely do that. Mods Osborne said so.
Have you gone down to play it on the Oculus Rift? Yeah, if you haven't gone down to play it, please do. They've just created, I think it's an on-rails experience, very different from the last one, which is the Elf City. Well worth seeing. Thoroughly immersive, sorry.
I mean, if we, like, because we did John's Church Quest.
Oh, One Piercing Note.
One Piercing Note, which was a similar sort of technological thing in a very abstract sense of being an audio-focused quest, when we'd never really done an audio-focused quest before, so it makes sense in that context. Yeah. But the problem with the Oculus, of course, is that almost no one will have one in practice, so we can't really do a quest that requires it, and it may not work very well without it, so it would really depend on whether we could come up with something that works without the Oculus, to then do something for the Oculus, if that makes sense.
Hi, will we learn more about the day out all?
It's totally it's not important. That's actually quoting Morgana, really, though. Quite possibly there'll be some exploration more of it to tie off the story thread, but really it's not as important to the series as a whole, but there'll be something.
You've got a few strands, haven't you? You've got Heme Alchemy, you've got the werewolves.
Yeah, there's quite a bit to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah, we may need to spin off into a new series.
Nice. All right.
So like in Lord of Vampirium, you had the sort of execution style on Lord Dracan, and it was probably the most gruesome thing like on RuneScape so far. Is there any sort of plans, like Mortal Kombat style, for any sort of boss fights later on? Because it was pretty cool.
Babalities.
Sorry?
We've
Babalities.
Oh, babalities. I thought you said manatees.
We could do those too.
We've got more bosses and stuff coming up this year, which I'll be working on. So I don't see why not. We could put some really cool sort of death animations in there. Maybe like some random ones that give you a different decapitation or something. Could be pretty cool.
A little anecdotal thing when it came to Lord of Vampirium is that we had to start investigating how far we could push things. Obviously, we wanted to push things. So we started talking to our kind of translation departments to find out how far we could go in localized game, like German, Portuguese, this sort of thing. And it turns out that if it is a humanoid but not a human, you can go further. Who knew? So you can decapitate and pierce them and cut off things a little bit more than you can. When it comes to a human, as long as you don't see the process of the blood or gore coming out of a character, you're fine.
We always thought that we couldn't do this. So like when we were making things like Broken Home, we wanted to have stuff smeared on the walls in blood, and we were like, oh, we're going to have to put like a bottle of ketchup near this or something so it doesn't look like blood.
But no, that's not the case anymore. So in Dimension of Disaster was actually, I think the first time we did it, we popped out a gnome's eye. We popped it out, left it by the dead body of a gnome because we knew it was all right and we could get away with it now. So
pushing the boundaries.
It's got really high brow here, sorry.
So we've got the Grand Master at the end of next year, and the second one, and an unrelated 5th Age one. What's the first one you didn't talk about?
Well, can I point you to RuneScape Reveals 2016? It's, yeah, immediately after this, we've got at least 3 other quests we're going to be talking about. One of them is a novice. Yeah, I saw your face scrunch up. You'll still like it. You'll love it. And I believe, I think it's a Master and Grandmaster. You'll find out. You'll find out there and then. I should know, obviously, but we're trying to get a decent spread. But inevitably, we are moving as our player base. You guys getting higher and higher level. We're moving more and more towards the higher level.
Will the Elder Gods be involved in the quests in 2016?
That was such a weird laugh. I couldn't stop myself. Can I say I'll get back to you? No.
Dave.
I know. So one of the things that's important to know about the pillars, I've been banging on about these pillars ever since the 6th Age. You know, you've got the Dragonkin, you've got the Elder Gods, you've got the Stone of Jazz storyline. I think what we were doing was we were spreading ourselves too thin. Like Death of V was a Dragonkin quest. You'd had Hearthstone. I called it Death of V. Welcome to our working title for quests.
Should we give the little anecdote?
Sorry?
Should we give the little anecdote about that? The being called Death of V, when we named it Heroes Welcome, obviously the biggest secret about that was that V dies. Sorry, spoilers. But then going on streams and stuff, being like, Heroes Welcome, almost spoiling it every time. It was awful.
So hard. I've completely lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so Hearthstone, Heroes Welcome. We were trying to cover all of these pillars at once. You didn't really get a sense of momentum. It felt like gods weren't really stomping around the world at all. So what we're doing is we're parking. Sorry, this is marketing speak. We're leaving the Elder Gods and the Dragonkin for the moment. We're focusing on the Stone of Jazz. But the beauty of our storylines is there's so much interrelation that you can't help but bring up the Dragonkin and the Elder Gods when it comes to the Stone of Jazz stuff.
Kind of another question about the Elder Gods that we talked about. In The Light Within, there was a cutscene, Seren and Zaros back on Fernesque, and there was a sort of a lean towards a suggestion that there were 6 Elder Gods, or there was 5 and something additional on top of that. So if there's any information that you guys can talk about with that, that'd be great.
Ooh, that we can talk about. Oh, that's where it gets difficult.
Be fanciful. Go for it.
What? Be fanciful. Fanciful. Okay, so there is a reason we said 6, and it is trying to work out how to say it without giving too much away. So the Elder Gods that you know of are kind of, you know them as the force of creation in the world. They remake the universe, they rebuild it, they make it stronger and better. Maybe the 6th force works a little differently. but it's still kind of in that sort of theoretical cycle. I'm not going to say that is the vaguest thing in the world.
We're not talking 2016 here at all. Maybe not even 2017.
This is
far flung.
Yeah, but we're seeding it now.
What's great, you know about revisions. You know the Elder Gods make the universe, they remake it again, over and over again. That means potentially that this cycle of Elder Gods, there might be one that they left behind. There might be one from a previous revision. That's a kind of nice prospect that, might crop up again. Yeah, sorry, one more quest. One more question.
Have you had any thought about cooperative quests?
Oh, Shield of Arav.
Stop that.
The most Marmite of all quests. With Shield of Arav, there are so many obvious problems with Shield of Arav, in that not everybody considers this to be an MMO. They're not playing it necessarily with other people. They actually treat RuneScape as a single-player game. And they took real, very rightly so, took aversion to having to group up with people. I know people who Shield of Arav is their last quest, remaining to be done. Remarkable. If we did it, it would have to be done in such a way, in my eyes, that it could be done either or. You didn't have to be. Oh, sorry, I'm being waved at by Connor. Am I on stage? Oh, okay. In 10 minutes. So it would be one of these things that you could do either or, and we're trying to get around that by things like Dimension of Disaster. I think that did that perfectly. That was fantastic. You could all jump into a kind of scenario, an area, and you're doing it together. You're checking on with each other. How are you doing? Oh, I kind of need some Zima marks for this. Have you got any? Yeah, cheers, mate. I'll have them. That's a really nice group experience, and I think that's the best way of doing collaborative quest content. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming and hearing us ramble. And we promise to do you proud in 2016. We will make some quality story content. And please come to RuneScape Reveals, which is where you can see more.